A Conservative MP has called for postal vote ban after a huge local election defeat. I'm not joking. We're going to read into this more from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Byline Times with the headline of Stop the Votes. Conservative MP calls for a postal vote ban after huge local election defeats. The calls follow a series of attempts by the Conservative Party to change the electoral system to their benefit. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So after the Conservatives got a absolutely right thumping at the local elections, which everyone was expecting. And if you want my analysis and full details about the local election, check out the last edition of the Snowflake Viewpoint. I will put a link in the description for you guys to check that out. If you want to see the numbers and the details and my thoughts about that, feel free to do that. But I just want to kind of cover on what this Conservative MP, which we'll read into shortly, is saying here. So obviously when voter ID came in, obviously I said that would have an impact on the votes. Without a shadow of a doubt, that tactical voting has played a significant part in the local elections as well. We know it was going to play a very important part in it, especially when lots of people was denied the right to vote. There has been many stories up and about, and I saw them on social media as well, about people going and not being able to cast their votes for whatever reason, all sorts of reasons. There was an issue also with maiden names as well when it comes to casting their votes as well, which is incredibly frustrating as well. So it's an issue that needs to be addressed. Now, postal vote, there are obviously... Why are they wanting to ban postal votes? Because they were most of those people who casted their votes for postal was not in the favour of the Conservatives. It's an idea basically telling people no, they have to get off their backside and come to the polling booth and vote for themselves if they want to vote us out. Basically, is what he or she, this Conservative MP, is basically saying. And I think that's nonsense. I don't think there's no reason to ban postal votes. It's completely stupid. And obviously, it's an attempt by the Conservatives to try and rig the electoral system to their benefit. The vast majority of people who cast their votes at these local elections made their voices very clear. Some of these people, obviously, I think need help. And I mean help up here because they still voted Conservative. So, obviously, if you haven't got a therapy, I suggest voting Conservative. You may be needing some therapy so that they can try and understand why you thinking voting Conservative is in the benefit of yourself or anybody else around you, when we, for the last 14 years, have gotten one of the worst NHS health crises that we've ever had, one of the highest rates of crime in here, one of the crumbling schools and deficits that are happening in our education system, and out of control immigration system as well. A Brexit deal that did not benefit the people of the UK as well. The list of, yes, of course, and the water and sewage, and obviously, but you still, after all that, you still think voting Conservative is in your best interest. This is exactly why, if you are someone who voted Conservative, you need to see a therapist as soon as possible. Obviously, you need help. But for those who don't need help and actually have a completely understanding of what's happening, this is once again a definition of trying to save their own skins, to save themselves, and it's a great cause for concern because these Conservatives are desperate to cling on to some kind of power. But the meteor is coming, and it's going to hit them really, really hard. So, a Conservative MP has called for postal voting to be banned after his party suffered the worst local electoral defeat in 40 years. Right-wing former Conservative Cabinet Office Minister Brendan Clark-Smith made the call on Tuesday following a weekend in which his party suffered huge defeats in both local council elections, parliamentary by-elections and multiple mayoral contests. They called for a ban on postal votes following the spread on social media of a series of false far-right conspiracy theories suggesting that Sadiq Khan has somehow won re-election through harvesting postal votes. Nonsense. I went through the numbers. It's nonsense. The majority of people in London voted for Sadiq Khan. That's it. End of discussion. Clark Smith's call could backfire, however. An Oxford University study from last year found that supporters of left-leaning candidates are less likely to vote by post. This has been seen in successive elections, including the 2012 London mayoral election, where the Labour then candidate Ken Livingstone won the popular vote on the day, but lost to Boris Johnson due to postal votes. Clark Smith's calls follows other recent seemingly failed attempts to change the electoral system to benefit the Conservatives. Last week's local elections were among the first to be fought with government's voter ID law in place. The restriction, which requires voters to bring one of a series of approved photographic IDs in order to vote, was brought in by Johnson's government as an attempt to gerrymander elections in their favour, according to the former Brexit minister Jacob Rees-Mogg. He literally said this, by the way, for those who don't know. However, there was little immediate sign that the new system had stemmed the scale of the Conservatives' loss last Thursday. It did lead to one Conservative MP and former Prime Minister Mr Johnson initially blocked from voting. Others affected by the rules, including an army veteran and a wife of a Telegraph columnist. Last week's London mayoral election was also the first to be fought under the first-past-the-post voting system, a move which critics suggested was another attempt by the Conservative government to make it easier to win back London City Hall. And I said this in the build-up to the London mayoral race, is that if they had put a competent candidate in against Sadiq Khan, they would have had a much better chance of winning. But they put an idiot in charge. And yes, I know Susan Hall was not their first choice, but whoever their first choice was can't have been that good to having to pull them out. However, those around Khan fearing the changing electoral system will hurt his chances. Evidence from the results suggests that instead it leads to an increase in tactical voting for the incumbent, who ended up significantly increasing his own majority. Asked later about Brendan Clark Smith's proposal, Rishi Sunak's spokesperson replied that we want to ensure that democracy is accessible to as many people as possible, and postal voting is an important part of ensuring as many people as possible are able to vote. So Sunak has kind of, as at least from the spokesperson there, has dismissed any kind of talk of ditching the postal vote. But it just feels like, to me, it's just like an attempt to kind of just try and, rather than actually listen to voters and listen to their problems and their concerns, no, we're just going to make it harder for people to vote. Now, this is so Republican. It's just like, dude, like, just like, people are not going to vote for you. They're going to either vote for Labour, they're going to vote for Lib Dem, they're going to vote for Green, they're going to vote for Independent, they're going to vote for Reform, because your party is refusing to listen to what the electorate are saying. It's as simple as that. And if people and these tactical voting campaigns, they're going to have a huge impact at the general election as well, whenever that's going to be called as well. But also, voter ID is going to have a huge impact at this general election as well. It's going to be an interesting one, to say the least, you guys. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of this silly Conservative MP, Brendan Clark, and his idea of banning postal votes, when in actual fact it actually benefited them at one point, which actually gave London Boris Johnson. Oh God. What do you guys honestly think about it? Let me know your thoughts and more in the comment section down below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or you can join me on Rumble, Patreon, or Facebook for exclusive content on them as well. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.